Well, welcome back, guys and girls. This is Caleb from Ful-O Gold. Working through my cup of English breakfast tea here. It's not bad at all, actually. And just thought I would have a look over here at Ararat. Um, got my trusty Google Maps with all the pins here. Um, just doing some research. As you can see, a fair bit of the mining was on the west side of Ararat. If you click on here, have a look. That isn't a typo. That's 107,000 ounces of gold that come out of the Canton lead. So I thought, well, let's do a bit of digging, bit of research on this area to see just what exactly happened on those gold fields. But first, a bit of history. This is just taken from the National Heritage here. So, alternative names, Mount William Goldfield. Okay. So Joseph Pollard discovered gold at Pinky Point, about 3 miles west of where Ararat lies today, in May or June of 1854. Now, I would like to know exactly how far that might be. So that's about west of Ararat. It's about 3 or 4 miles, maybe a bit more. It's a great tool to have on Google Maps, actually. So this must be Pinky Flat in along here. Looks like they found a bit of gold there to get them started. So back over here. The area became known as the Mount William Goldfield. Miners did not flock to the region until a series of discoveries between 1856 and 58. So about 2 to 4 years after first gold was initially found. 1858 precipitated the Ararat Gold Rush, which led to the establishment of one of Victoria's largest mining populations. The peak of the rush was in April 1857, when Chinese gold seekers discovered the Canton lead. That brings us to where we're looking at here. And what a discovery it was. 107,000 ounces of placer gold. Placer gold, that's interesting because that's it isn't in the veins, from what my understanding of it. We have J Ward Museum up here. So the Canton lead, that I'm assuming wouldn't be just in this area. It would be deep underground, going whichever way. I wish I had a map of where the lead is. Unfortunately, I don't have one at the moment to show you guys. So, here's a little article, or a bit of a read of an article, giving us a bit of context of what's going on here. It's taken from 1917, but it has some information dating back to 1876. It says the Canton lead reef. In looking back, the files of Ararat Advertiser yesterday, in connection with the appointment of Nurse Sullivan to the Ararat Hospital, we unearthed the following interesting reference to the Canton lead reef in an issue of Friday, 14th July 1876. So this is about 40 odd years later that they dug up this, or redug up this information. It continues, it will be remembered that a company was formed some 10 or 12 years ago to prospect for this reef. and a tunnel was put in from Stall Road and the lead undercut. Okay, I'm curious to know where Stall Road is, to be honest. Well, that's Stall Road there in Horsham, so that's not helping us. What did it say? Stawell Road. Okay. Maybe, yeah, might go back to that. Okay, I proved wrong. I couldn't find where it is. Okay, so 3 small reefs were passed through before the main load was cut. This proved to be 12 feet wide and carrying fine gold. But as the funds of the company were overdrawn and the water was too heavy for the appliances on hand, it was decided to suspend operations pending the raising of more capital. That happened to a lot of companies back in that day. They just didn't have enough money behind them to really get the ball rolling. And there's other things like, they hit too much water. They don't have the equipment to keep up with it, and they got no other choice but to pull the pin. So the water was too heavy for the appliance on hand. Matters stand. So today, the Reef was, according to the advertiser of 1857, struck in 3 places in the Canton lead, and notably in a shaft sunk by 2 men from this office and entered in our books as Don and Spec, respectively. Working from the data given by the 3 shafts and by Mr. H. Powd, a line was surveyed by Mr. W. H. Grano and Captain Jenkins, and after driving 1,500 feet, that's a fair undertaking there. 1,500 feet from Stall Road, I'd imagine. The reef was struck within 3 feet of the surveyor's line. There you go. That's I could say that's a modern engineering marvel, that they can do that. You think about those tunnels that they make. I think there was a big one over in the United States when they did the Great Railway. They started mining from one side of a mountain, on both sides, meet in the middle. And when they punched through, they missed only by like half an inch. So these guys, they really knew their stuff. They didn't just dig a hole willy-nilly when it came to digging deep. I guess that's what they call them, a surveyor. Yeah. Okay. The reef stands unexplored today is a sad reflection on the enterprise of the town. The extract of the old files is as follows. The following correspondence has, through the instrumentality of Mr. D, something similar, passed between J. Woods and Mr. D.W. Cowper of Ararat, relative to the whereabouts and quality of the above reef. To the Honour T. Woods, favoured by D. Gunson, Re. A claim said to be worked by you on the Canton, prior to the rush to Commissioner's Hill. A statement was made. Okay, so prior to the rush of Commissioner's Hill. So this was obviously discovered before the gold rush came to Commissioner's Hill. Interested to know where Commissioner's Hill might be. There's One Tree Hill. Where am I going to find that? I'll have to come back to that. Okay. Back to here. The promise of a fair return for immediate working and attractions on Commissioners Hill Rush immediately following proving too great for attention to the reef. You were induced to cover it over with a view of some future working. Okay, so this report, this guy, he must have been there, and he's writing to find out more information. Okay. An opinion that it would pay for working at the present time. Now, that's what a lot of them did. They, as I said before in previous videos, this was their livelihood. They couldn't afford to work at poor ground because it just wouldn't pay for their labour, wouldn't give them enough money to survive. Immediately after this report, a letter appeared in the Ararat Advertiser, written by a person in the interior, corroborating in the above report, and affirming that a friend of the writer, who is also a resident in the interior, could point out that the claim alluded to. The encouragement offered by these reports has induced a number of persons to form a prospecting party for the purpose of making a trial of this spot. The public, however, are shy of affording sufficient support. We see that over and over again. A lot of people, they don't like mining on their doorstep, although it proves effective for the economy. It creates jobs. It helps local businesses. So, would you therefore be kind enough to signify by a letter if the report of what is said on the subject is correct? Okay, so he wants confirmation of this. Be so kind of you to give what information you can respecting the alleged reef. I am yours sincerely, D.W. Cooper. Okay. He replies, My dear Ganson, I have read Mr. Cooper's letter. Read the supposed reef at Ararat, handed to me by you. Let me tell you all I recollect about the matter. I think a then mate of mine, named Bacon, I don't know if that's his real name, 1856 he thinks, so the beginning of the rush. He goes, no, not that one, you silly thing. This is why I need a mouse. There's one on the way, guys. It'll help out a lot. 1856, I think. Had found a reef on the old Canton. I'm not quite sure about Bacon. At any rate, I saw the reef. I think it was somewhere on the Canton near to where Mr. Ewan's store was situated, but I am not sure. I did see the reef. It seemed to me to be from 2.5 to 3 feet thick. The stone was milk white with blue veins. Now that's very interesting. That's the information we want to see when we're researching. It's good to know where the gold is. It's also good to know where the gold isn't. For example, you see a lot of shedding of milky, real white quartz. Not a speck of gold in it. That's good information to know for future reference when you're looking for future prospecting spots. The stone was milk white with blue veins. It was in a drive in the pipe clay. Also good to know. I broke some stone off and, to the best of my recollection, saw gold in the blue veins. Okay, well, there's your little bit of pot of gold of information. I'm speaking entirely on a 20 years memory. I am sure that I covered it up with the intention of having another look at it another time. But in 56 it was thought that nothing under 2 or 3 ounces to the ton would pay. Now that is interesting actually. These days, with today's gold price, I would be happy to go dig up a ton of material for, 2 to 3 ounces. It's about the odd $4,500. That's pretty good earnings, isn't it? Okay. The amount did not seem to be sticking out of the stone I knocked off. I believe that the reef could be found it would pay now. Okay, if you found it now, it would be good pay. Yeah, as I said today, it'd be even more worth your while. It was about parallel with the Canton. This led me to the purpose of to propose a tunnel through the range of Phillips Flat. I thought a lot of reefs would be cut. I'm really sorry that I'm unable to furnish you with any more definite account, more especially as a locality I was working on perhaps every lead in the Ararat, from the Hopkins to Cathcart, but I cannot recollect the place. Perhaps Booth might remember, or Cook. Okay, so he was a pretty good local. He worked in a lot of mines by the sounds of it. He says Cathcart. I did manage to see Cathcart was a little one-horse town. Over here somewhere, I believe. Anyway, it was only like 5 minutes out of town. I had it up here a second ago, but we're looking at just the southwest here where it says unknown. Yeah, around about there. I'll get rid of that now. So he says it was a matter of talk at the time, although the place was not made known. I was not the finder. Somebody in the language of the goldfields laid me on. I think it was Bacon. I had a mate at the time whom I only knew as Tom, the sailor. A little fellow and a cockney. Okay, and a cockney. That's interesting. I'm gonna just look that up real quick, if it'll work this time. Term is applied to demonym the loosely defined areas of London. Today's okay, so he's from London, and they call them Cockneys. East Cockney, it appears. Similar, not to be racist, but if someone calls a British person a Pom, a Cockney, yeah. Like Australians, they call him Aussies. Yeah, mate, yeah, yeah. He knew all about it. I must confess that I paid little or no attention to it at the time. Being an alluvial digger, yeah, that makes sense. A lot of guys didn't want to cross over from digging the alluvial to hard rock mining. And merely covered the reef up as a sort of goldfields habit or custom. I think have now told you all I know about the matter. In the course of casual conversation with Mr. Swan, I mentioned something about it. I'm sure that there are rich reefs somewhere about the old Canton, and not far from every one of the old leads of the grand old diggings. Make what use of this you think proper, and believe, my dear Gunson, yours faithfully, John Woods. So there we have it. Could this be a modern treasure hunt? The old Canton. You can see there's a lot of gold came out of there from the Placid deposit. Let me know what you think. Would you guys go out on the whim with a little bit of information like this? Let us know in the comments. Also, if you're from around that area, let me know if that's useful to know this information in this video. I'm Ful-O Gold. If you'd like to support my channel, there's a number of ways you can. Just like this video, subscribe. It helps to grow the channel and beat the algorithm of YouTube to let it know that these videos are liked. I'm Ful-O Gold. Thanks again for tuning in.
When first I left old England, sure such yarns as we were told, as how folks in Australia could pick up lumps of gold. So when we got to Melbourne town, we were ready soon to slip and get even with the captain and scuttle from the ship. With me swag upon me shoulder, Black Billy in me hand, I travel the bush of Australia like a true born native man.